about time.
And we're back! All flash!
No substance.
So today's top 5 is the top 5 Spider-Man moments on the big screen.
Right.
With all of this talk about Spider-Man and the MCU and Sony split, we thought it'd be good to, let's just look at Spider-Man as a whole.
Okay.
Whether it was on Sony, MCU,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Let's talk about the top moments
Okay.
in Spider-Man cinematic history here. So, Terrence, go first.
All right, so I am a Andrew Garfield apologist. Like, he is one of my favorite Spider-Mans. I'd probably say he's probably more of a better Spider-Man to me than Holland. I know that's controversial to say.
Right now,
You
it
know.
is.
Now, with that being said, he ain't in my top 5.
Damn!
Because unfortunately, other Spider-Men have had better moments. And maybe that's writing, maybe that's how the you know, how they directed the films. They've had better moments. So we're gonna start with number 5.
Number 5!
Spider-Man versus Macho Man versus Bonesaw. Come on, that was such a great scene.
Bonesaw's ready! Part 1!
Bonesaw's ready.
Part 1, alright.
Look, that.
Why'd you pick that one?
Because one, that's an iconic thing in the comic books itself.
Yes, very
because we know that his origin story, he started off as a wrestler to earn money when he first got his powers.
Right.
And for them to do that on screen was an amazing thing for them.
And
because
to
they-
pick Macho.
Yeah, and to pick I'm a big Macho Man fan, by the way.
Black
so-
machismo here.
Exactly, right? So, so they're the only ones out of all the Spider-Men to actually do that scene in live action. I was like, so when I saw it, I was like, whoo! And it was Macho Man. Oh. So it was really good. I mean, what's really weird that they didn't do Kevin Nash or something like that, because he's an actor and we figured they would have done something like that.
But
Macho Man was
Macho's
great.
iconic,
He
so-
did a great job, and when he did on it, it was an amazing scene. They even had
Bruce Campbell.
in that scene as well. That scene just played out just perfectly if you're a Spider-Man fan from
The
comic
human
books.
spider,
The
that
human
name
spider.
sucks.
That name sucks. Spider-Man. Hey, you got my name wrong. That's why I love
Number
that.
4!
Number 4! All right, so number 4, and this is in a movie that most people don't really like, but the scene itself was a cool scene because, once again, harkening back to the comic book, it's just one of those iconic scenes, and they were able to at least do it visually that make you feel like you were actually looking at the comic books, and that's
Okay.
the bell tower scene when he's getting rid of the symbiote.
Okay.
Yeah, when the bell's ringing and he's pulling it off from
That's
stuff.
an interesting scene.
Yeah, exactly.
I would
That
not
is-
expect you to pick that
That is a
scene.
great scene.
It is a great scene.
If you
I'll
are
give
from the
that.
comic books, it's like the rest of the movie was trash, but that
And-
scene
well,
itself.
no.
You don't hate
You
Spider-Man.
don't hate Spider-Man 3, but it was, and we said it before, actually in that episode, it was
Yeah.
from the beginning to the middle, it was freaking amazing.
Yes, it was.
And then
the
from the middle to
Sandman
the end,
thing,
it's
and then
like-
we got to a whole
and
new
then-
Goblin and
But-
Topher Grace's Venom.
But the, to go back to the whole Venom scene, Tobey Maguire's performance in that,
Yeah.
by itself was freaking noteworthy. So I'll give you that one.
Except the black hair and dancing scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
We don't
scene
talk
itself, for like, if you look back at the comics, they did a great job in bringing it to live screen and showing you a great translation of it and showing you what he would go through to try to get something that's trying to bond with him and trying to, like, this thing didn't want to let go. It was a great scene, and the way it unfolded, that's why they showed it in the trailers, because they knew that got people's butts in the seats to go see that film.
Okay.
All right, so that was number 4.
Number 3!
Number 3! All right, so my number 3 scene is, I put this as number 3, but I'm gonna move it up, so it's no longer number 3. Number 3 is gonna be the dinner scene with MJ.
The dinner scene with MJ. It's funny how it's all Toby here.
Yeah, it's all Toby. He had the better scenes. I'm sorry. The dinner scene with
MJ. Okay.
with MJ, because it's that whole thing where he's ready to reveal who he is, that he's Spider-Man. Is basically the whole Superman talking to Lois scene, but he's ready to do it, and he has his spider sense and the imminent danger that's going on when Doc Ock throws throw a car through the window? He throws a car through a window, and you see how he reacts and everything, and another comic book moment, not specifically that moment, but something that you could imagine in the comic books that they were able to live out on screen. Like, I'm in the moment and I'm trying, because Spider-Man has this whole thing where, like, he has to, like, how do I balance my life with being a superhero? I want to be able to express, and it's like, and always, superhero always takes over what's going on in his life. He wants to be a regular person, but something outside always affects him being a regular person, and that was a way for them to show it really, really well. And the scene itself, for at that particular point in time, and maybe it's more iconic to me because I was young when I saw it, that it was a great scene, and it's like the CGI still kind of feel like holds up. And Doc Ock was a really good villain in that film. But just seeing it play out on screen, it screamed who Spider-Man was at that time, and it was a great action scene.
When it comes to the duality of those roles, who do you think had it harder, Batman or Spider-Man?
Well, Batman was rich.
So Spider-Man. All right,
Number two.
Number two.
Now that we've changed that, and it's funny because it's not just iconic to me, but it's also iconic in the Spider-Man realm because it was even featured in Spider-Verse.
Okay.
And that is when Spider-Man's holding the train.
Okay.
When he's holding the subway train, when Doc Ock is attacking and blah, blah, he's got to stop the train, and he's like just struggling, and you got that weird Tobey Maguire face.
Famous meme, by the way.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, that scene, you felt like there was real danger. Like, man, that train's gonna go off, and Spider-Man, his web's breaking and everything. More danger that I felt than watching Holland hold the ferry together. Okay. I felt more danger in that scene, and it could be because I was a kid when I watched it. It was more intense at that particular point in time, and I was an adult when I saw Tom Holland with the ferry scene. But that's who they were trying to. With the ferry scene, they were trying to redo the subway car scene.
Okay.
That's what I believe when I saw that. It was like they were really trying to redo that scene. And like you said, it's a meme. Spider-Verse had to bring it up because it was an iconic moment.
Brought up a lot.
Yeah, they did. They actually did. They brought up Tobey Maguire.
They
brought up the dancing. Yeah. They were like, all our movies we're going to bring up.
We don't talk about that.
But the scene was very intense. And even at the end of it, where they're like, when people like lift off his mask and they were like, he's just like my son. He's a regular
we're
kid.
still gonna protect him.
It was a great emotional scene.
He just saved our lives.
Yeah.
And he has his his mask. He's unmasked, and we're gonna protect him anyway.
By the way, did you see the theme with Spider-Man 2 here?
What?
To see the theme with Spider-Man 2, like my moments with Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's all Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So
Number one.
All right. So here's the obvious one. I mean, it's like this is the one because of what it meant for Spider-Man fans and what it meant to going forward with the Spider-Man character itself was Spider-Man taking Cap's shield.
Ow.
That was such a great moment. There's other moments I wanted to put in there, but there is no bigger moment than that moment. What it meant for the MCU, what it meant for Spider-Man, what it meant for fans all around the world, because everybody kind of got their like, he's back. He's back.
And he belongs.
Yeah, where he well,
to a certain point.
I mean, now he ain't. But the scene itself was iconic, and it's something that definitely Spider-Man would have done in the comics, and it made such an impact because it was a great introduction for him. Underoos!
Yeah.
All right, that was a great scene for just him taking the shield. There was no fighting at that particular point, just him taking the scene and appearing on screen, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's why it was my number one.
Okay. Good list.
Yeah.
No love for Garfield.
I mean, I'm sorry. Look, you're still my number one Spider-Man. You're still my number one Spider-Man.
But get no love. You're number one. His number one Spider-Man, but you have you get stuck to honorable mentions, no top 5 moments.
I blame.
Not even the lizard fight scene, nothing.
I blame Sony for the villains they gave him. They gave him a bad Electro.
Which is why we're in trouble.
They gave him a bad Electro, and then they gave him the lizard. They gave him Goomba Lizard.
Bad,
they gave him Goomba Lizard.
They did give him Goomba Lizard. Number 5! My number 5 actually starts with the Goblin fight scene at the festival. You introduce William Dafoe as the Goblin, and
William Dafoe is the real life Goblin.
Yeah, he is the real life Goblin. Actually, he would make a fantastic Joker, but that's another story for another day. He would. But the festival scene actually was what pretty much got that Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man movie in 2002 going. And Sam Raimi, how he, executed that whole scene was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
William Dafoe is just gold, and you cannot knock that. That is when Spider-Man really happened. That is when he was really introduced to the freaking big screen. I'm going with that as my number 5.
Number 4!
Number 4, surprisingly enough, is holding the Staten Ferry together. I thought that.
Really?
I thought that. Now, you know, it's.
You don't think it takes away from it that Iron Man had to come help him?
There is 2 sides to it because you're dealing with an element of water, and water's gonna go wherever the hell it wants to.
Right.
Ask Leo. So I honestly believe that holding the Staten Ferry was really, really tough, and it actually really highlighted Spider-Man's strength as far as Tom Holland's strength. In this MCU. So I'm gonna give him absolutely number 4. That's a tough freaking job to pull. Yeah.
I think the train thing was harder.
Number 3! My number 3 is stealing Cap's shield. There is absolutely
Number 3!
Number 3. There is absolutely no way that Civil War does what it does without that particular scene at the end of that trailer. I mean, everybody was hyped when they saw Spider-Man take that shield.
Yeah.
And to have him be introduced as far as, you know, this freaking journey that you've gone through, because Civil War came out in what, 15, 16, something like that? And for him to, you know, be part of that whole journey and finally make his appearance, you know, it was bigger than when Vision came out. It was bigger than when Ultron came out. It was bigger than all of that. And not being part of an Avenger film and just being part of Civil War, Avengers 2.5.
All right.
It was
Avengers 2.5. That's when we started using that, the 0.5 stuff. Number 2!
Number 2 was stopping the train.
Oh, okay. See, it did make the list.
It did make the list because guess what? That is just as hard as holding a ferry together. Now, granted, there is no water, and I'm gonna agree with you. There is, you know, water is an element that is gonna go anywhere it wants to, and it's a really tough, you know, really tough thing to fight against. Ask Mysterio. but going against speed, tons of steel, and having the back of your mind know that you have lives on this train made it that much more difficult. Now, granted, there were lives on the Staten Ferry, but at that speed, that is too damn tough. And Tobey Maguire's freaking, oh my God, his emotions were ridiculous in that movie. I mean, I can only imagine how it was when they called action and the emotion that he had to bring out just for that scene when he was not really going that fast. He was probably surrounded by green screen. And he pulled it off. Raimi directed it beautifully. It was just freaking awesome to see. And for New York to come together, which it always does around Spider-Man, but for New York to come together the way it did and to pretty much embrace Spider-Man as Peter Parker and take care of him, priceless scene. There's a lot, not just the action sequence in itself, but the emotions involved for the passengers towards Spider-Man that took it to a whole other level. Number 1. The number 1 Spider-Man
I'm
moment.
curious, what is this?
Yeah. The number 1 Spider-Man moment for me is I Don't Feel So Good.
Ah, it's so depressing. It's so depressing.
It was very depressing. But the fact that he is a high school student that was brought in this whole world by freaking Tony Stark and disintegrate before his very eyes, and the emotion that Holland pulled out there was just heartbreaking, mesmerizing.
You're gonna make me put up a clip of him disintegrating.
Yeah, and just absolutely foreshadowing on his character. No, I'm kidding. Sony and MCU.
Disintegrated out of the MCU.
That's awful. But it was absolutely just, the performance that he put in that was, wow, man. I mean, for an actor that young to play that kind of, put that kind of emotion in that, it was just, I mean, everybody in the theater for Infinity War was bawling. Yeah. I mean, not as much as freaking, you know, you had grown men bawling at freaking Logan, but this one, everybody was crying for this part. And, you know, credit Tom Holland.
Peter Parker.
Credit Tom Holland. Credit Robert Downey Jr. for reacting, for the reactions, everything. That scene was just ridiculously heartfelt, and yeah, my number 1.
All right. Honorable mentions. I had to think about some things because there's a lot of great Spider-Man moments. Andrew Garfield wise, one of my favorite Andrew Garfield scenes. It's one of my son's favorite Andrew Garfield because that's his favorite Spider-Man. He used to watch The Amazing Spider-Man over and over. That's his what's the movie your son wanted to go see? The one that just came out, the sequel to. No.
No, that's all he sees. He's seen that movie 9 times.
No, what's the one that we were talking about? Like, The Angry Birds one. Yeah, that's his Angry Birds. Dude, he watched this movie over and he could just never get tired of watching it. He's still like, if you want to put it on, he'll watch it. The first one.
Oh, okay.
All right, nobody likes the part 2. But in there, there's a moment where he's fighting like little thugs in the alleyway, and he was like, yeah, basically, and he was like, oh my God, you found my weakness, small knives. It was the best scene ever. Yep. So I love that scene for Andrew Garfield. The other scene is when Tobey Maguire comes in and he steals back his suit from J.K. Simmons after he's already kind of defending him and stuff like that, and he's just like, Spider-Man's a thief. That was a great scene. Obviously, the Goblin fight in the burning house. I love that scene, even though that their CGI versus the stunt person's movements was a little weird because he was like, just jump around and do some flips. Yeah, just like just jump around and do some flips, and we'll CGI some pumpkin bombs in there somewhere. Those are my main ones.
All right, my honorable mention, surprisingly enough, involves Jamie Foxx's Electro.
Why?
Because the fight scene with Electro.
Don't you know who I am? I'm Electro.
Oh, I'm the Riddler. Oh wait. Which was basically the same fucking story.
It was. It was absolutely the same story.
He called Jim Carrey from his Aim Loving Color days. Hey Jim, how'd you play the Riddler?
Yeah, you know, because I'm gonna do that scene.
So Electro's fight scene was actually really good special effects.
The final one?
Yeah, the final scene.
Okay, yeah,
special effects was great. The special effects were awesome. The action sequences were, they were no.
Just the performance was bad.
Yeah. Becoming Iron Spider.
When he puts the suit on and he gets the suit lady.
He's losing air because he's going so high in altitude.
Yeah.
And the spider, and he falls.
That was
and
such
it catches him.
Yeah,
that was really. It smells like a new car in here. I freaking love it. All right. So that was honorable mention. The vulture fight on their airplane.
That was
pretty damn good.
It was hard for me, and I wanted to fit that one in there, but it was so hard for me, and I couldn't take out Macho.
Would you go vulture fight or the vulture talk? Because that was intense.
All right, so
it was really intense. Michael Keaton was amazing in that scene.
The vulture talk lost some of its impact when I watched Hizzy, how the movie should have ended. And
okay, well, don't watch that.
And it lost
everything.
I know it lost something for me because it was like, hey, why would you fear a guy that you're like 10 times stronger than?
Yeah, you're an old man.
Yeah, exactly.
Web your face right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Kill you
so
right
I mean, that lost some of its impact after I watched that. I was like, oh yeah.
You have to admit that.
So I'm gonna say
the dialogue and the back and forth between the two is just.
It is. In the moment,
intense.
You were like, it was very intense.
Yeah.
It was like, man, what can you do? Now go in there and show my daughter a good time, but not too good.
No promises. I got some web for her face. All right. Did I say that?
Oh.
Edit that. All right. So last one.
Cool.
The entire intro to Into the Spider-Verse.
That's a cop out.
The entire beginning to Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh man.
Where Chris Pine completely introduces himself, goes
and then
throws
redo the theme over and over again.
The entire thing, everything from the spider dance, the train, the spider sense, the freaking Spider-Man ice cream, the music, the holiday music, everything. The entire intro to Spider-Verse.
That's a good one. That should have made the top 5. That should have made the top. That's a good.
Awesome, man.
Macho, I might take you off for that.
I love it.
Oh man, I can't believe I didn't even think about Spider-Verse because the. Hey.
Sure
That's amazing by itself. I caught it this time. Yeah, I didn't see it fall. That and final honorable mention, Electric Company Spider-Man, because that was a Spider-Man for me for a long time as far as live action goes until they did that whole cheap Spider-Man live action movie, Spider-Man the movie, and it was really bad.
Okay, well, all right. You wanna go TV, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go Amazing Spider-Man with Iceman and the Fire Chick.
Hey, that was a great show.
It was a great cartoon. I loved it.
That was a great show. That was a great show.
Terrence, take us home.
All right, but no, technically, Electric Company, he was a real spider. He was a real Spider-Man. I mean, he had thought bubbles, but he was a real Spider-Man.
I believe you.
All right, okay. So anyway, guys, put your live-action Spider-Man moments on screen. Put it in the comments below. There's a lot, to be honest. And obviously, if you're a younger viewer, Tom Holland's probably gonna be more familiar to you, or may hold more weight than it does for us, or at least for me, because I'm a little bit older. Tobey Maguire had better moments. I'm sorry. He did. He had a lot more to choose from. And Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland, they couldn't go back and redo his stuff. Well, I mean, Andrew Garfield tried to do it with Godwin, but they couldn't redo his stuff. So put what you guys think is your top 5 in the list below. Make sure you like, comment, and like I said, subscribe, so that way you know about all the other top 5s we do on this channel. Because trust me, it's gonna be some off-the-wall stuff.
And let us know who your favorite Spider-Man is. In all honesty, I think Tobey Maguire was the best Peter Parker.
He was the best Peter Parker.
Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man.
Best Spider-Man.
Tom Holland's the best of both.
Yes, he was the best of both. He is the Michael Corleone.
The Michael Corleone from The Godfather of the Spider-Man universe.
He is. That is. We're like, he's just gonna run the Spider gangster family.
Hopefully the MCU and Sony work out something, anything to make sure that this continuity as far as storytelling goes on. And put your comments below. Let us know what you think.
They'll work it out by Galactus or by Secret Wars.
That's right. For Aspen and Art, where the hell they're at, I'm Manny.
I'm Terrence.
We'll see you next time.
Tom Holland will be like 40 by that then, but who cares?
You remember the saying, right? Behind every
Yeah.
fine girl is a guy tired of nailing her.
I want to be the guy tired of nailing her. Man, I had this so much. I'm just sick of this.
Man, hey, that was some old.
Here, take it. Take it off.